Valencia y Barcelona. Aquí comienza Inglés Online TVE.
Hello, everybody. How are you? It's class number 136, and we are online today. I know we have had several days, a few days where we were not online. When I say online, I mean on YouTube. Estamos en YouTube, everybody. We're on YouTube. You can join the fun. You can connect. You can watch the show en directo, live on YouTube. Visit youtube.com. and search for Inglés Online TVE. Inglés Online TVE. And you can click there, you can subscribe, and you can follow all the action, just like Valentino and our friend Nihad. Valentino is writing in from Haiti. Nihad, I'm not sure where is writing in from. Where are you writing in from? Where are you watching from? Who else is in the chat? Let us know. If you're on the chat, join the chat, join the fun. If you are, unless you speak perfect English, if you don't speak perfect English, and this is the place for you, you can write in with any questions. Si tienes dudas, preguntas, cualquier cosa. Aquí estoy. I'm here for the next half hour, and I will answer your questions, and we will also review class number 136 from our course, Inglés Online TVE. Nihad's writing in from Morocco. Belen's here in Madrid. And Chema says, hi, everybody. I miss not seeing you these days. Don't do it more often. Well, don't do it. Yeah. Well, we had some technical problems, I will say, the other day, Thursday and Friday. But we're back. We're live. Now, there were shows. But, and yes, Tino is back. And people are saying hello to Tino. There he is.
Tino.
There he's back, everybody. Just like that. Tino is back in the studio, live with me. And we're back with class number 136. People are writing in. Carlos says, it's a good thing you're in HD now, in HD. Yes, that's right. You get all the glorious video footage, right? In HD. I'm not sure if we need that, but anyway. We are in HD. It's nice to be online. Okay, let's begin. We're in class number 136. Let's begin with today's beginner content.
Nivel básico.
All right, our beginner content. I don't know what that word means. ¿Qué significa esa palabra? Pues no sé, ni idea. I don't know what that word means. No sé qué significa esa palabra. I don't know what that word means. Significar, to mean. Third person singular, it means. What does talar mean? Oh, talar means to cut down trees. Claro. Talar means to cut down trees. Cortar árboles, por ejemplo, ¿no? Right? What does out of service mean? Out of service means fuera de servicio. Out of service means fuera de servicio. What does it mean? What does all this mean for us? There are so many changes. What does it all mean? ¿Qué significa todo eso? What does all of this mean? So our sentence today, I don't know what that word means. I don't know what that word means. And we have another way of saying to mean, which is to stand for. But stand for means significar when we talk about acronyms. I've talked about this many times on the show, right? What does CIA stand for? Oh, CIA stands for Central Intelligence Agency, la CIA. But in English, you say the CIA. We don't normally pronounce acronyms like words the way you love to do in Spanish. Usually we pronounce them as the letters, the CIA, the FBI. He studied at UCLA. We're not going to say UCLA. We say UCLA, which stands for, que significa, which stands for University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. So to stand for, to stand for means significar when we talk about acronyms. Okay? Evelyn writes in and says, hello, everybody from Costa Brava, Spain. And she says, Kyle, you're still so white looking. Pareces muy blanco. Es que soy así, eh? Costa Blanca. Costa Brava, excuse me. There it is. And she says, what's wrong? I don't know. Do I look very white today, Tino? Muy blanco? Very pale? Is it the camera or is it just because I need to get some sun? Maybe I need to go tomar un poco de sol. Tino says it's both things. The problem is, I'm not one of these people that likes to sit in... No, a mí no me gusta tomar sol. A mí me gusta tomar sombra. I like... It's so hot. I can't sit in the sun. I stay inside. I stay in the shade. Busco la sombra. I look for the shade. By the way, we don't say shadow. Do you know the difference between shadow and shade? It's como sombra y en la sombra. Right? The shade is like inside there is shade, or under a tree there is shade. The shadow of a branch, or my hand, look, even here my hand makes a shadow on the table. I can hold my hand up and there's a shadow on the table where the light is blocked. And I can't, it's dark inside that. That is a shadow of my hand. And inside the shadow, there is shade. So shadow is almost like a silhouette. You have a similar word in Spanish to silhouette. And inside that silhouette, there is shade. Yolanda says, Kyle, you've got giddy color. Yes, I am. I do, I should say. I do have giddy color because I am. I'm a professional giddy, folks.
Tiene muy buena pinta, ¿no?
Bueno. Yeah, I know. I mean, what can I say? So shadow, silueta, shade, sombra. Not exactly. Both are sombra. Es como sombra y en la sombra. But the idea of silueta gives you this outline, this pattern on the outside. The shape is the shadow of something, right? Like you don't, like if you go to the bullfight, and you can sit in the shade. Solo sombra. Well, I think I'll pay a little more and sit in the shade. But shadow is like to cast a shadow. My hand casts a shadow onto the table. Or there's a shadow. A tall person creates a large shadow and an area where there is shade. People are writing in. They're welcoming back Tino. Belen says, welcome, Tino. Nijat says, Tino in the house. Welcome, bro. And we have... yeah, there he is. And Claudio says, hello, saludos desde Guadalajara. Okay. And Nijad says, what CEO stand for? We need to conjugate some verbs. We need to use our old friend, the auxiliary verb there. What does CEO stand for? Hey, what does CEO stand for? CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer. Evidence says, do you like bullfights? My God. No, I don't go to bullfights. I don't really have strong opinions, but I don't go to them. Belen says, I'm sure you'll be tanned after walking on Nova Scotia beaches. Maybe. Because in Canada, I think I spend more time out in the sun because it's not as intense. But in Spain, I don't like sitting in the sun because it's too much. It's too intense for me. I burn, right? Our beginner sentence today, I don't know what that word means. I don't know what that word means. No sé qué significa esa palabra. I don't know what that word means. Okay, let's push forward, everybody, to today's intermediate paragraph.
Nivel intermedio.
Intermedio, yes. Before we get into it, more people are writing in. Valentino says Canada is quite cold, though. Not in the summer. Toronto, for example, is I wouldn't say Toronto is not as hot as Madrid in the summer, but it is still very hot. 35 degrees, 35 grados, no problem. 36, 37. In the summer, Toronto, yeah. My hometown is cooler, but my hometown is mid to high 20s, maybe 27, 28, 29 degrees. Well, on a hot day, all right? Cooler days, 20 degrees, 20, 25. But it's not cold in the summer. Nice weather in the summer. Cold in the winter, but very nice summers in Canada. Our intermediate sentence, there are fewer people here now than there were a fortnight ago because of the weather. Hace una quincena, no? A fortnight ago. Very British. I would never use that word, a fortnight. I say 2 weeks. In 2 weeks' time, or 2 weeks ago. So there are fewer people here now. Hay menos gente aquí ahora than there were a fortnight ago. Que hace 2 semanas. Right? There were fewer people here now than there were a fortnight ago because of the weather. All right. So the weather's not as good now, so people aren't here. There are fewer people here now. And this is a good example. We can practice how it's more common in English to use a negative comparison rather than saying there are fewer people. We can say there aren't as many people. There aren't as many. So, for example, we can try this at home. You can try this at home. Let me give you a sentence with fewer or less, and you can give me the equivalent with not as much, not as many. Okay? So, for example, there are fewer people in Spain than in France. So it's countable. People are countable. So we say there are fewer. We don't say less. Less is with uncountable things. So there are fewer people in Spain than in France. True. Hay menos gente en España que en Francia. But if you want to say, no hay tanta gente en España como en Francia, which is a more common structure in English, the not as much, not as many, in a countable case, not as many. You'd say there are not as many people in Spain as in France. Okay, let's try an uncountable example. There is less olive oil, hay menos aceite de oliva. This is true, there's less olive oil in Asturias than there is in Andalucía. Hay menos aceite en Asturias que en Andalucía, claro. And so the negative comparison, there is not as much olive oil in Asturias as in Andalusia, or as there is in Andalusia. This is true. Let me give you another example. There are fewer Eskimos. So I'm going to give you the example with the direct, with the less or fewer, and you give me the equivalent, okay? Not as much, not as many, okay? There are fewer Eskimos, Esquimales. There are fewer Eskimos in Valencia than there are in Alaska. True. I don't know how many Eskimos there are in Valencia, but probably not very many. Quite possibly zero. Right? Esquimales. So the negative comparison would be there are not as many Eskimos in Valencia as there are in Alaska. Okay? There are not as many Eskimos in Valencia as in Alaska, or as there are in Alaska. Okay? Now, there is less sand, arena. There's less sand in Cuenca, hay menos arena en Cuenca than there is in Egypt, right? Que en Egipto. Hay menos arena en Cuenca que en Egipto, claro. There's less sand in Cuenca than there is in Egypt. So the negative comparison, there is not as much sand in Cuenca as there is in Egypt. True. We have Nihad who gives us an example. Why don't you give us an example, everybody? Write in, give us an example with not as much, not as many. And write in on the chat, and I will read your examples, okay? Send me an example if you can think of one, not as much, not as many, comparison. Write in on the chat on YouTube, and I'll read your answers. Okay, Nihad writes in. He says, there aren't as much tourists. Oh, be careful. Tourists are countable. Son contables. Turistas. So there aren't as many tourists in Spain as in France. Well, I suppose. Because France gets a lot of tourists, right? But so does Spain. But yeah, I suppose there are more in France. So there aren't as many tourists in Spain as in France. Okay. Let's do another one. There is less industry, industria, right? Business, industry. There's less industry in Bulgaria than in the United States. There is less. So industry is uncountable, so we'd say there is not as much industry in Bulgaria as in the United States. Okay. Yolanda says there aren't as many Eskimos in Cantabria as in Nova Scotia. True, although we don't have Eskimos native to Nova Scotia. The Eskimos are much further north in the Northwest Territories or the Yukon or Alaska or possibly the territory of Nunavut. Although there could be Eskimos. There are probably some Eskimos, people of Eskimo lineage living in Nova Scotia. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Okay, Ivan says countable or not uncountable. I think it means countable or uncountable. To be or not to be, that is the question, my friend, says Ivan. Evelyn writes in and says, not at all. There are more tourists in Spain than in France because Spain is the best in that. I mean, I don't know what the numbers are like, but if you go to Paris, ooh, there's so many tourists, eh? I don't know. Joaquin says there aren't as many listeners as there should be. Well, I don't know how many listeners there are right now. Belen says there isn't as much water in the Sahara Desert as in Greenland. That's true. Good example. I like that. There isn't as much water in the Sahara Desert as in Greenland. Good. Valentino says, hi, Kyle. Do you often use unit-measured expressions with uncountable nouns? For instance, information is uncountable, so you can say a few pieces of information, a few schools of fish. Yeah, information is uncountable. So we have to use, we say pieces of information. You can often introduce a countable unit of measurement to make something countable, like water, right? There's a lot of water in the bottle, but there are 3 glasses of water on the table, or there are 3 bottles of water. We introduce some unit to make it countable and quantifiable, more quantifiable. Yeah. Chema says, I have to look for the TV program for today to find Fortnite. It's the first time I've seen it in my life. Yeah, so fortnight is a British way of saying, well, it's a common way, but more common in Britain, I would say, of saying 2 weeks, quincena. There aren't as many cars in Teruel as in Madrid. That's true. There aren't as many cars in Teruel as in Madrid. There are fewer cars in Teruel than in Madrid. There isn't as much traffic in Teruel as in Madrid. Perfect. Okay, let's push forward, everybody, and have a look at today's advanced content.
Nivel avanzado.
There wouldn't have been, no hubiera habido. There wouldn't have been a strike, una huelga. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had, si hubieran subido los sueldos, no? The wages. If they hadn't, or if they had increased the wages. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages. So to make something go up, to increase them, to make them go up. There wouldn't have been a strike if they'd increased the wages. And we have the contraction here. If they had increased the wages, there wouldn't have been a strike. What's that? No hubiera habido una huelga. If they had increased, so increase, aumentar, to increase, to raise the wages, to increase the wages, right? Los sueldos. Okay. There wouldn't have been a strike if they had increased the wages. Good sentence. Okay. People are writing in. Valentino, let's see here. Yolanda says there aren't as many radio presenters doing a great job on other radio stations as on Vaughan Radio. Oh, thank you very much, Yolanda. Thank you. Evelyn says the insects aren't as big as in Congo in Spain. The insects aren't as big in Spain as in Congo, I suppose, yes. They aren't as big in A as in B. Valentina says France is first and Spain is second in terms of tourism. I think I heard that from the horse's mouth, which means like directly from the source. So I guess direct from the horse's mouth, I guess would have to be the government in this case. Chema says wages. Is that like salary? Another word I saw today for the first time, wage. Now, wages is, essentially your salary. But there is a difference between a salaried worker. If you're on a salary, then you are on una nómina. But a wage can be like an hourly wage, por hora. So you could have a freelance person who doesn't have a salary, but they earn a certain wage. Wage is almost like una tarifa. It's like a rate, but a rate of pay. So it's a bit different so there's a bit of a difference between a wage and a salary, right? But a wage can be like an hourly wage. But casually, it's often used in a very similar context. Okay. We are going to finish because we're out of time. Oh my gosh, we're out of time. Up next, Dave Boys, the man right there. and the salad coming up. You can see him right there warming up. And he'll be with Tino in the next program in just a couple minutes. We're out of time, everybody. This has been class number 136. Thanks for joining me. Mañana más, tomorrow, class 137, because it's the next class. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching, folks. Bye-bye.
Este verano tenemos un montón de planes para ti y tus hijos, para toda la familia. Ven a Vaughan.